Listen, anytime, any place, anywhere, I'll fight you in your backyard. Back up on Bristol, I'll beat you in your book. You're a book.
I want to unify. Is he up for the challenge? Like I said, I declare war. You know, this is not a battle, this is war because I was born in this.
Why am I sitting there like a spare dick away? While you are sitting in your mum's spare rooms, just tickling your bollocks.
Come and see me, baby. No more hiding, no more ducking, no more dodging, no more excuses. Let's make the fight happen. Let's see who's the best. I know I'm the best. Are you up for the test?
I'm through. Hey, put somebody else up and give me an interview. What are you talking about? You never give me a fair shake. HBO needs to fire you. You don't know shit about boxing. You ain't shit. You're not shit. I wish I was 50 years younger and I'd kick your ass.
Negative. I'm good. I beat Polly. I left with his belt and his girl.
Fucking was too fast. But it wasn't so much about it, was just that he was so fucking fast. Fast.
Amazingly fast.
Fucking amazingly fast. I was like, I thought Freddie was in there fucking hitting me too. So.
Any of you radio personalities think you want smoke? Call me Mr. Chimney. I want smoke.
Yes. What is up, MCR family? Another daily edition of the show live on YouTube, obviously podcast from iTunes, Spotify, radio, etc. I am Matt, the hipster hunter. Find me, Matt Hunter, MCR, all platforms. We're going to be talking all things boxing today. And I'm writing solo dolo. No Rob, no Fu, no Anthony. So call in, 323-870-4051. That number is down below on the screen, over there, that corner. I don't know if it's working. Looks like Blog Talk's a no-go. I'll see if I can fix that while I'm talking. In the meantime, though, because I could probably do that simultaneously. You guys know me. You know, I'm an expert in this. But also Skype, Mixed Combat Radio is always open, always working. I'm going to try to get Blog Talk up as I am talking at this point in time. But beside that, we are going to be talking, obviously, the Ryan Garcia, Oscar De La Hoya, beef, drama, whatever it may be. Also tied into it, the Canelo underlying drama with Golden Boy Promotions, which honestly might be like the over, like, let me make this weird comparison here, right? You know, like in a season, in a TV show, right? Like you have individual episode plot lines, right? And then there's like the plot line that's going throughout the season, like the thread point throughout everything, but kind of in the background for most episodes. I feel like in the Ryan Garcia, Golden Boy, Oscar De La Hoya, Eric Gomez episode right now, it's really the Canelo Golden Boy storyline that's weaving throughout it. And I cannot wait to tackle it. Obviously, Oscar De La Hoya finally has spoken on the subject to the LA Times. Too bad it was not Lance Pugmire. I feel like it would have been a better interview and honestly a better article, just to be quite honest. Also, going to talk about sort of Tyson Fury's timetable since Bob Arum has talked about that. On top of that, going to have a little. I think I'm going to start this as a segment moving forward because we do this without really doing it as a segment, but it should be a segment. King Petty of the Day or King Petty of the Week is going to be sort of a new segment. We have Eddie Hearn, Bob Arum going at it, and plus, it's funny how Eddie Hearn seems to be involved with everything here. Eddie Hearn got into obviously an altercation at the press conference today. I don't know if it was for the Katie Taylor fight, but I forget what other fights were on that card. And it was quite fun. I'll say this for altercations and pure verbal altercations. This one was one of the better ones I've seen in some time, and it not to the degree of hilarity. But it reminds me of Avani Yerdum's manager, just all of a sudden going crazy in a press conference. This is a more subdued version of that, but it is quite good. Hold on, let's see if Blog Talk is going to be working now. Santiago, call back in if you can. That'd be lovely, so we can see if this is working. But anyways, digressing. As I try to get the phone lines up and running. Shout out to Art Alexander, Young Buck, Mr. David, Dwayne in the chat, BK. Hope everyone's having a fantastic day, evening, night, wherever you are in the world. And, hold on.
Your show will go live.
Okay, let's see if it's working now. Santiago, call back in. Let me know if that's running. Let's talk about the Oscar De La Hoya interview with the LA Times, because obviously the bulk of the information that I think can sort of address on today's show is coming from this column by way of, obviously, LA Times, written by Arash Markazi. I hope I get the name right, though I will say you could have done a little better job with, was it the second or third sentence here, the third sentence in your column? Recently, right here, hold on, in reference to De La Hoya, recently he has dealt with his most high-profile fighters using social media to make disparaging remarks about him or Golden Boy Promotions. Oh, cry me a river. But that's not really what we're going to talk about. I just wanted to address that. Hey, you can obviously do a little better job about writing and framing of the discussion here, because last time I checked, Ryan Garcia was not the first one to send shots across sort of the bow in this proverbial war. But let's talk about the overall points that De La Hoya is making here. Let me see if I can find the exact part I want to go to. Here we go. In reference to the Canelo Alvarez and Sergey Kovalev fight, I'm glad we got the fight done. Well, let me get some sad music here for Mr. De La Hoya. It's been a rough week for him. And by the way, guys, phone lines are working now, so call in 323-870-4051. Press 1 to get in the queue. De La Hoya, speaking to LA Times, I'm glad we got the fight done, and I'm glad we have a long-lasting relationship we will fulfill. We're under contract for his next 10 fights, so I'm glad that we got him what he wanted. I don't know if that's really what he wanted. We had to put up with a lot of BS from other promoters who were making it impossible to make a fight. I wonder who those promoters were. That's what happens when you're the biggest athlete in the sport, making the most money. You have a target on your back, and as a promoter, you get the backlash. Everybody wants to sabotage our relationship, but everything is fine. Yeah, sure. Moving on. That part about Triple G doesn't matter. This is the author writing. Alvarez isn't the only Golden Boy fighter to... he isn't the only Golden Boy fighter who has taken his issues with De La Hoya and the promotion public on social media. Again, a weird way of framing it. Ryan Garcia, a 21-year-old lightweight prospect from Victorville with an undefeated record, blah, blah, almost as impressive as his social media following of 3.4 million followers on Instagram. Was supposed to fight Avery Sparrow last Saturday in Carson. The fight was scrapped when Sparrow was arrested before the weigh-in. Again, stuff that we know, but I just want to also frame the conversation in some aspect to table the key sort of facts of the timeline. Now, remember, this is what Garcia said before this article was written. We're obviously going to talk about what Ryan Garcia said post this article being written. But he said on Twitter, my promoter acted in a very unprofessional pattern at this point, saying things that were false about me. I'm a fighter, not afraid to fight anyone. My team tried tirelessly to negotiate a fair purse amount to save the show, but my promoter has shown little interest in my career. Now, this is De La Hoya now talking about that statement from Ryan Garcia. Ryan has... Oh, let's get back to the sad music, guys, because it's so good. Ryan has a lot of voices in his ear right now. That's fine. That's fine. Totally fine. I've been through it myself, but it's unfortunate because the miscommunication isn't between us. It's between his people. We're going to have an emergency meeting to get everything resolved. We're going to move on. We're fine. Alvarez's trainer, this is the writer now talking about the writer of the article. Alvarez's trainer, Eddie Renaso, is also Garcia's trainer, and Alvarez has retweeted many of the shots Garcia has taken at Golden Boy. De La Hoya, in reference to that, that's fine. I think it's great that he's supporting him. Canelo is mentoring Ryan just the way I mentored Canelo. And maybe one day Ryan can mentor the next guy. But he's not a world champion. And this is where It gets... this is where it gets... Shots are started firing now, instantly. Let's switch up the music a little bit, because the tone does switch here from De La Hoya. Is he my best young fighter? No. Maybe next to Virgil Ortiz. By the way, Gary's going to be so happy about that. Gary, you better call in now, just because that's been mentioned. Back to the quote. Virgil Ortiz is the real deal. Ryan is in a very unique situation because of his social media following. The fact that he has so many followers is great. But... he hasn't transcended over to boxing. I don't know what that really means, to be honest. It just hasn't. That's the bottom line. So, how do we do that? He has to win a world title. And who knows how to get him there? I do. Don't listen to all these voices in your ear telling you, hey, you have 3 million followers, you're supposed to getting paid this much. Don't listen to them. Just trust the process and you will get there. Poor De La Hoya. This part's so good. De La Hoya spoke as he watched the Rams play the New Orleans Saints from the new Casa Mexico Sky Deck at the Coliseum. De La Hoya is a partner with the tequila company and says he still drinks, but not as often as much as he did when he was younger. De La Hoya was dropped by another tequila company after he checked himself into rehab in 2011 and 2013. Quote, I drink responsibly.
Oh, God!
I just love how we go from talking about, hey, Canelo, we're good there, we're fine, everyone's fine. Ryan Garcia, we're fine. Oh, by the way, I totally drink responsibly, guys. No issues about that, guys, at all. I'm fine. I'm good. Now, if we find out tomorrow morning that I don't get credentialed for the Canelo Kovalev press conference, this show might be the reason why, but that's beside the point, because this needs to be stated. Before we get to Ryan's responses here, already, this is flagrant as a promoter. Like, already, he's not fixing and resolving anything. In fact, he's making it far worse, because he is now pitting his own prize prospect against one of his other prize prospects and comparing them and trying to bring one down in a disparaging way with that comparison. And it's clearly that's what he's doing. So if your point is we're fine, I'm fine, we're fine, everyone's fine, we're all singing Kumbaya here, I find it highly irresponsible at the very least. At the worst, it's just malicious to then go from saying we're fine to, yeah, but you know what? I don't even think he's that good. I don't know if he can really win a championship, but I can probably help him. You know, not these other guys, but I can help him. But he's not really transcending boxing yet. Virgil Ortiz is much better, you know, so do you really need him? You can't be saying those things. You can't. So you're second biggest name in your promotional company. Now, let's get to Ryan Garcia's responses because it's a little spicy here, and I find it hilarious. Ryan Garcia, I don't even want to speak about this stuff anymore. But Oscar, call me for real and stop going to the press. We haven't talked at all. I want the best fights. I'm 21. I have to drive to be even better, and I will continue to get better and fight the best fighters. And this is not where he stops, and then he finishes it up with, Oscar, if you don't believe in my talents, then you can release me elsewhere. Point blank, period. If you do, then come talk to me. Please, no more press and public bashing. God. Now, I've been pretty clear about where I stand here. Regardless of, let's say, how much Ryan Garcia is asking for, and is that way above market value, and is that not what he signed, you know, in terms of his contract? That's beside the point at this juncture, in my opinion. Because the conversation isn't about what Ryan Garcia should be owed. The conversation shifts to, as a promoter of a fighter, a young fighter with a lot of talent, a lot of upside, an extreme following in comparison to top-level boxers even, let alone the average boxer. So you don't then turn to that guy who may be asking for too much, and he's your second biggest name, and go, he doesn't want these fights. He's saying they're too tough. He's not even that good. He hasn't won a championship yet. We have other guys that are better than him. You're automatically devaluing not only your own promotional company in a way, but him, your fighter. And obviously in a direct way, again, your promotional company. So I don't understand the strategic point of this other than this short-term, perhaps, negotiation for a purse amount, right? And this is some sort of way to devalue him and add leverage to you in the negotiation if you're Oscar De La Hoya. Maybe that's the thinking. But long-term, you're pissing off your second biggest name instead of building him up properly and making sure he's happy. And simultaneously, it is clear that your other biggest fighter is on his side. And that is a major, major red flag when you have Canelo Alvarez sharing all these tweets. Not a good sign at all. Not at all. And then moving on, last sort of aspect to this story that I know of at this point in time in terms of the recording here. Ryan Garcia's advisor per Mike Coppinger, Guadalupe Valencia, tells The Athletic there's only one faction on Team Garcia. This was in response to a Steve Kim tweet when he said something to the effect that there's multiple factions within the Ryan Garcia camp battling it out, let alone Ryan Garcia's team battling it out with Golden Boy. This is a response to that. Athletic, there's only one faction on Team Garcia, and everyone is on the same page. Garcia has expressed his displeasure with Golden Boy and Oscar De La Hoya in a series of tweets. So I'm of the mindset that that's probably true. There might be one or two people maybe within that camp, so to speak, that have different viewpoints, but I don't think it's much of an issue. I would say Eddie Reynoso, Canelo, and Ryan Garcia are all on the same page, as they should be, and it seems like they are, at least in the public light they are. Ryan Garcia, I think, should stick to his guns. Look, you can't be out here talking about me if you're my promoter in that way, period. And then your apology can't be also disparaging me. That's not an apology. We're not fine. You haven't called me, even though you said you did. This isn't good here. So either release me or fix the situation. And I understand Ryan Garcia's complaint 110%. And honestly, I don't understand how you defend Golden Boy here, other than saying, oh, Ryan Garcia is scared to fight these guys. And I feel like you're just repeating talking points from literal corporate executives. Like, you're a corporate bootlicker at that point, in my opinion, if you're just repeating their talking points. And on top of that, I feel like you can have enough critical thinking here in this story to go, yeah, I mean, maybe Ryan Garcia doesn't want to fight these guys, or his team doesn't want to fight these guys. Maybe he is asking for too much. But you still don't go out in the media and say these things if you're Oscar De La Hoya or Eric Gomez. You still don't do that. And if you can't come to that conclusion at least, then we're just on different wavelengths. And that's fine. Completely fine. What I think is probably going to happen next, I think Ryan Garcia, I think Golden Boy is going to eventually have to steer the ship right and accommodate their two biggest stars. Otherwise, what do you do next? You can't, no offense to Gary in Dallas, one of our longtime listeners and biggest fan of Virgil Ortiz, but Ortiz is not the guy that you structure the company around for the next 10 years. He just really isn't. He's a guy that could be a top 5 guy in your stable, absolutely, but just look at the metrics he produces in terms of viewership, social media numbers, online numbers, in terms of YouTube numbers. It's just a different ball game entirely. Yes, he may be a far better fighter, but that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about making money. And if you're a business and you are losing money every time you put on an event, unless it's a Canelo fight, then you need to remedy this somehow. That's just the honest reality of the situation. Because if Golden Boy loses Canelo and Ryan Garcia at this point in time, I do think they are a package deal. I think Canelo has plans and dreams of Canelo promotions with Ryan Garcia in that stable. Maybe Oscar Valdez down the line in that stable as well, another stablemate. So with that, I believe obvious and evident planning from Canelo, Golden Boy has to remedy this issue. Otherwise, they lose a giant piece of their company. And a Golden Boy without Canelo and Ryan Garcia is no bigger than main events, no bigger than K2. And that's a drastic drop, just with those two guys alone leaving, and especially, obviously, Canelo. That's the lion's share of it. But again, these are a package deal. There's a reason Oscar is mentioning them in comparison with each other, these stories in comparison and in connection with each other, because they are connected. Leave a comment down below, guys, what you think. Should Ryan Garcia leave Golden Boy? Should Golden Boy have said what they've said in the public, including Eric Gomez and Oscar De La Hoya, about Ryan Garcia? Do you think Canelo has plans to leave and to bring Ryan Garcia with him? Let me know your thoughts below. We're moving on. Again, call in 323-870-4051. Press 1 to get in the queue. International callers, call in on Skype, Mixed Combat Radio. Santiago, press 1 if you want to get in the queue and talk on today's show, because we only have a few topics, by the way, and it's going to be a short one, probably, in today's show. Lance Pugmire reporting, Bob Arum tells me Tyson Fury will be restricted from sparring for 7 weeks due to his cuts, but he can then resume normal training, and it's all systems go towards a planned February 22nd fight against Deontay Wilder. I'm still the mindset that date is flexible. It's not a concrete date in the contract at this point in time, if I'm being completely honest. So even with this timetable, I don't think we're going to get a February 22nd date for a Wilder Fury fight. I think it's going to be pushed back at least maybe towards March, just being honest. The only reason you rush it for February is to get some sort of rub of the end of the NFL season. That's my only thinking, is that you really rush it to get that exposure in some way. But again, you're rushing it, especially if what happens to Deontay Wilder in a Luis Ortiz fight. Well, if he gets cut, instantly the entire timetable has to be moved back. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. 13 rounds of boxing saying, yeah, I do think that Canelo wants to have his own promotional company. And if he is, then Golden Boy is in trouble. And I'm also curious, do you think he has plans with like a Ryan Garcia going? Do you what guys do you think that he honestly poaches from Golden Boy, from Top Rank, Matchroom? He's going to have to poach people in some sense. Art Alexander saying, if Canelo breaks off from Golden Boy and I'm Ryan Garcia, there is no way I'm staying. Absolutely agree. I think the writing's on the wall of that sinking ship if Canelo jumps. It has to be. Moving on, though. Let's talk about, overarching sort of segment here is, who is King Petty of the day? Because let's be honest, we do like a daily show, even though most likely tomorrow I'm going to be at the Canelo Kovalev press conference, unless Golden Boy Promotions sees this show or sees our other reporting when it comes to this story, when it comes to the Ryan Garcia story. However, King Petty of the day, who is it? Is it, let me try to get this name right, Brian Cohen, manager of Christiana Lenardois? I probably butchered that name. Apologies. The upcoming opponent for Katie Taylor. And him and Eddie got into a nice little spat here. So let's play the clip. And it's so good. I'm sorry. I wish Rob was here. I truly do. I'm upset he's not. Let's play the clip.
Oh, we're going to go to the champion first. And Brian Cohen. Brian, welcome. It's great to have you here. We really appreciate you making the trip over.
Thank you, Eddie.
Big fight for your young charge, and she seems very focused, very confident. We know these negotiations have gone on for a while, and you know you've stood your ground, and this is now the big stage, massive opportunity, and we know you're very confident as a team.
We are very confident. You know, I wrote down a bunch of little quirky things to say and things like that, you know, on the airplane. But, you know, at this point, I really can't say that, Eddie, because, you know, I've been in women's boxing for 10 years, been managing women for 10 years, and 26 world champions I had. All right. When you see your fighter get off an airplane in tears, you know, and I know it's really lighthearted in here. I'm sorry to bring the energy down. She's not happy. She's the champion. And like you said, we were negotiating for quite some time. And she just feels as the champion that she should have a rematch clause in her contract. You know,
You that worried about losing already? I mean,
yeah. I mean, if you don't be cute.
Well, no, be cute.
You don't gotta be cute.
No, because what do you think? You're gonna win the
cute.
fight or not?
I mean, she's coming to win the fight, but you don't gotta be cute, Eddie. I mean, I'm not the one.
I want smoke.
Is that?
No, I'm just saying. I'm not. Don't try to be quirky with
I'm
me.
not trying to be quirky. I'm saying you wanted a rematch, but we're talking about your. My question is this is a big opportunity for your fighter. You believe she's going to win the fight?
You have a rematch clause if she beats her, but not if she beats her, right? Are you worried?
No.
So why don't you put the rematch?
We're not worried. We got one.
So why don't you show some bollocks? So show some cojones. Put the rematch clause in.
I'll ask you again. Are you looking forward to the fight? Do you believe your fighter is going to win this fight?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah, no problem.
Cheers.
Yeah, cheers to you.
Christine, welcome.
Oh, God!
Please believe your demise will be televised.
Oh my God, it's so good. I've watched that clip at least 20 times today. At least, right, guys? And it is funny every fucking time. Now, I could get on about, like, should he have done that? And I know, like, there's a lot of people saying, like, oh, like, this is awful. Other people are doing this now. I really don't care. It's not a big deal. I don't think it's going to be quite successful. I think certain people who have leverage when it comes to negotiation can do this move and pull it off. Some can't. It's quite obvious. And others will just come off as funny. Others come off as petty. Others will come off as slightly terrifying, a la Chisora, who I think was about to get in an altercation himself with Regis Prograis at that last one. Brian Cohen, he might be in the running for King Petty. But again, also Eddie in some way. 13 rounds of boxing, laugh my ass off. That shit is funny as hell. I never heard of this one. Yeah, it was out today. This is the press conference that came out today. It's for Katie Taylor's next fight. Here's another clip by way of IFL. The clip of Eddie Hearn with probably the best impersonation of Bob Arum I have ever seen. So our next candidate for King Petty of the day, Eddie Hearn, with this, again, amazing impersonation of Bob Arum.
Arum, Eddie don't know shit about boxing and his fighters and the zone. It's a joke. It's a joke. Oh, I'm going to make Lomachenko an offer to fight Devin Haney, as is his mandatory. Right, well, we're going to sue him. If he keeps talking about my fighters, I'm going to sue him. They've got no game. They've got no banter. They've got nothing at all. You can't pipe up and slag another man off and let me come back in and just, you know, have a little go and then say, oh, I'm going to sue him for torturous interference. What, making you an offer for my guy who's mandatory against your guy? These guys, they're crazy. They're crazy. Bob Arum.
I don't know. It's tough. Right, guys? Like, this is a tough competition this year. Or today, I should say. I don't know. Chat, let me know. Who is King Petty here today, guys? Was it Eddie Hearn with the impersonation? of Bob Arum, or was it Brian Cohen who thought you could pull a fast one on a press conference and definitely made up a story about his fighter crying, and he thought that was going to be a good way to promote his fighter, that she was crying. Let me know in the chat. I'm leaning Brian Cohen as the King Petty of today, but it's a close one. That is for sure. And also, I forget, we have one more late entry. I forgot about that, guys. Here we go. John David Jackson has obviously been watching Kovalev's last couple fights, and he had this to say about when it comes to the Canelo Kovalev fight. Let's get some dramatic music because it's pettiness, right? Jackson knows why Kovalev was chosen to be for the Mexican superstar. Quote, "They saw his last fights. They picked Kovalev because he's the weakest of all of them in the light heavyweight division. If Kovalev beats him, he can go back down and say it was too big. Their style of living outside of boxing, it's not the way he lives," said Jackson. The other three champions don't destroy their bodies, so they're fresh and kind of young compared to him. He was stubborn also when I tried to teach him how to fight on the inside. Now he can't deal with fighters when they go to the body. Beterbiev, Bivol, Vajdic, they are a little better than he is. I'm not saying Kovalev can beat them because he can punch. At this stage of his career, he's on the decline compared to him. I don't think it's a cherry pick, but they do see something, and that's why they chose him. It's a calculated risk. Kovalev is declining, and this is the best time to get him. 2-3 years ago, you leave that guy alone. So, again, I'm still probably leaning to Brian Cohen for King Petty, but John David Jackson having some not so nice words about his former fighter and Sergey Kovalev, not surprising. They did not leave on amicable, in any sort of amicable ways at all. However, guys, it looks like that's going to be it if we don't have any callers. Oh, actually, I mean, sort of briefly run through the fights this weekend because there aren't really any big fights coming up this week. So call in if you want to talk about any of these topics. The Ryan Garcia topic, Skype, Mixed Comment Radio, 323-870-4051. Press 1 to get in the queue. International callers, Skype, Mixed Combat Radio. If I have no callers, I'm definitely just going to head out of here, guys. Don't worry about it. But I'm going to run through these fights coming up this weekend. First up, via DAZN, September 19th in Florence, Italy. Orlando for the Giglio versus Sam Eggington. On Showtime on September 20th in Texas, Michael Dutchover versus Thomas Matisse. Ruben Villa versus Enrique Vivas as well. Brandon Lee on the card. Mayweather Promotions Facebook on September 20th. Lionel Thompson versus Scott Sigmund. That's about it. I mean, there's a bunch of fights, but I don't know who any of these guys are. What else was there? I believe there's some other ones. Thompson Boxing Facebook. Peter Petrov fighting versus Dedrick Bell. Isaac Zarate fighting on that card. That's actually kind of a decent little card. And then September 21st in Bakersfield, California. Probably the biggest card of the weekend on FS1. Peter Quillen, Alfredo Angulo, Lo B-Hop, Chris Colbert versus Miguel Bertrand Jr., Thomas Delorme versus Terrell Williams, one of the Gary Russell brothers, Francisco Ochoa. A decent little card, actually. Multiple Gary Russell brothers, as expected. Oh my God, so many people on the card. And Joseph Diaz Jr. on Facebook Watch via Golden Boy on September 21st as well, fighting Jesus Cuadro. No one else on the card really stands out. Again, not a jam-packed weekend of fights. I mean, quick predictions. Joseph Diaz Jr. should win handedly. Lo Biop should win. I'm picking all the Gary Russells. Thomas Delorme should win, though Terrell Williams is a decent fighter. Peter Quillen should beat Alfredo Angulo, but that's a battle of who is more washed. Let's be honest. Peter Petrov should win. That's about it. That's the only predictions I'm going to give out for today. And Santiago has pressed once. So let's go out to Santiago. Get his thoughts on the Ryan Garcia Golden Boy situation. Santiago, how you doing, man?
A lot better than I did the last time I called in, that's for sure. Yeah, you know what? It's just a culmination at this point of everything that's been talked about on this show regarding this entire storyline. And, it seems like Canelo has Ryan's back too regarding all this situation. So one has to wonder, like, what is it really going to boil down to with Canelo's company? Because, like, when De La Hoya first started his career, he was under Top Rank, and then he eventually branched out into his own promotional company. So it's gonna be like almost watching the empire just go down in a blaze to see like his biggest prospect and his star fighter, which is probably his sole moneymaker too, just leave his company in ruins at that point, because like these are the guys that have the leverage at this point. Ryan is a popular guy. Canelo's pretty much established himself as the man, and at this point he is a man in his own right too. He's not a kid anymore. He's 28 years old. He's well aware of what he needs to do for himself, and I can only imagine him being a mentor to a bunch of the younger kids that are in that stable too. Obviously, I think that when it's all said and done, Canelo could probably end up turning the tables on De La Hoya and just do what he needs to do to have his own promotional company and just watch him take off from there. I mean, your thoughts on everything having gone in De La Hoya's career, from leaving Top Rank to his promotional company probably coming to an end at this point.
Yeah, it does seem like we're heading towards the finality of Golden Boy Promotions. Like, it does seem like the wheels are officially coming off. Like, they were surviving since the Richard Schaefer and Al Heyman departure and all those fighters leaving. I think it survived from that, but it again survived. It didn't really thrive from that. It wasn't like when a forest fire hits and you have the trees that then can grow from it. This tree still died. It didn't really grow back again from the forest fire that was the Richard Schaefer departure. And I don't know. I mean, I don't know for a fact. I have my thoughts and opinions, but we don't know why that is. We don't know if it's purely due to Oscar and his mismanagement, because that seems like a recurring theme. Has Eric Gomez not been able to really solidify himself within the company in any way? How long has this Canelo and Golden Boy beef been going on? On top of that, why can they not seem to build prospects properly when other promotional companies do? Even companies that we understand, like we talk about as struggling this year, like Top Rank, right? They still successfully build up prospects. You know what I mean? And Golden Boy is both having a really bad year and all their prospects are losing, or they're just not getting the push that they're deserved. Or in Ryan Garcia's case, the promotional company itself is coming after him like he's public enemy number one. So it's just this weird case of the last 6 months to a year now of, wow, things don't look too good right here for Golden Boy. And I made the prediction on the last show, in 10 years, Golden Boy is gone. I stand by that.
Yeah, definitely. It just seems like it's all bad at this point, and you have to wonder where De La Hoya's mindset is in all this, because, like, obviously we know about his struggles, his addictions, and whatnot, but you got to wonder, like, how much of that has been a residue of, like, maybe not even allowing some of the people that he's left in charge to really do their own thing, like you said, because Eric Gomez is supposed to be the president of Golden Boy Promotions, but I could easily imagine that De La Hoya maybe is limiting him in his ability to actually do his duties for the fighters, because
absolutely,
God knows what's really going on behind closed doors at that point.
Absolutely, and I wouldn't even blame Oscar in that case, because like Richard Schaefer was in Eric Gomez's situation or position 5 or 6 years ago right now. So I would assume Oscar is in a position where he is paranoid and doesn't really trust anyone within the company, and hasn't for some time. And if you're the literal founder of the company, the owner of the company is paranoid of people within the company and doesn't trust people, isn't really around, is kind of just being absent, then that's going to just trickle down to the entire company. And it's no wonder they've had issues for time and time and time again.
Yeah, man. So it's all a matter of just seeing how everything's going, because it seems like it's all becoming an eventability. Like, it's all a matter of, like, when, not if at this point, because all the chips are being laid out as a matter of, like, how long does it take? Like, how much length do we have on that fuse before it all implodes on De La Hoya? You know, we're not talking about what ifs at this point. We're more or less talking about a timetable of when it's all just going to come crashing down. And you know, really, that's my take on that. That's really what I see when I see all this bad blood and pushback coming between De La Hoya, the fighters, and specifically Canelo and Ryan Garcia. Because like we've had our issues with Ryan, but you know, it seemed like the one time that he was gonna get that push, it just disappeared. It just went up in smoke, and it's just kind of like, what happens at that point? You know, we already know what most fighters do in that position when they feel they're not getting the push they need. So I think it's an inevitability at this point. So, you know, that's all I really have to say. Don't really have much to add about this weekend of fights. It's actually a pretty slow weekend. Doesn't even intrude on my working schedule. So it's more of a casual weekend of watching fights. If you have any questions regarding any of the topics, feel free to shoot. Otherwise, that's my call.
Have a great one, Santiago. Always appreciate it. Guys, that's going to be it for today. Let's head on out of here. You can find me, Matt Hunter, MCR, all platforms. Also, I did a show last night. I recorded it with Anthony Walker, Jay Petrie, and Benjamin Duffy of Sharedar.com. The show's going to come out on the Walkout Network. You can find that on our YouTube page. I don't know when it's going to come out, because it was supposed to come out earlier today. So I'm going to text Anthony and see what's up with the show. But that should come out at any time. It's going to be breaking down the Don Cerrone fight, breaking down the upcoming UFC Mexico card, and what else did we talk about? We talked about the role of media and access, and whether or not media is basically ethical in our duty when it comes to breaking and talking about stories that might hurt our access. So that was a fun conversation, I have to say. Lord Jacob in the chat saying, what I miss? Apparently everything. Yes, show is ending. Don't worry, just scrub back the show all the way to the beginning and enjoy. We had a good time. And I gotta admit, Lord Jacob, since you're a guy that appreciates some comedy, there's some real comedic clips I played on today's show, so you gotta listen to it. Anyways, guys, have a great day, great evening, great night, wherever you are. Hit the like button, share the show, subscribe, patreon.com/Mixed Combat Radio. Peace.
Fuck that shit. Fuck boxing. Fuck boxing.
You're the only person that says that.
Everybody's on steroids. The whole UFC, everybody.
That's fucking illegal.
I'm Phil. I'm very Phil.
Where is this Burger King?
You disrespect boxing, you piece of shit!
Hey, pussy, are you still there?